In the latest chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen, a lot of people are wondering how is it that Inumaki actually received damage if his voice was simply recorded? And while we don't have a clear explanation yet, I do think the answer is going to be quite simple. As we know, he already takes a massive amount of blowback anytime he uses his cursed speech, so long as his opponent is significantly stronger than him. We saw this with Hanami, and Suguna is leagues above Hanami, even in his currently weakened state. Now, we also know that his voice does work through devices because we also know that he told Miwa to go to sleep during the training arc through the phone, and it did work. So I do believe the recorder isn't that different, and using a command as strong as don't move on someone as Sukuna would definitely cause some blowback. Now, the reason that the blowback still happened despite it being a recording is because I think there was a binding vow involved. Somehow he was able to store the cursed speech into a recorder, and the blowback would only happen once it was actually played. So in other words, that wasn't a flashback panel to show that Inumaki was damaged when he recorded it. I think what happened is once that recording got played, the damage was then received onto Inumaki because it affected someone as strong as Sukuna. And we know that this is something they had set up because whenever Yuta and Inumaki were headed towards the higher-ups area, they had an off-panel screen where they didn't really show anyone's faces, but Yuta says, "I'm going to put you to work." So in that, more than likely they were coming up with this plan and trying to figure out how to use a binding vow with a recording device and Inumaki's cursed speech. And because Yuta can also copy, and we know he's already copied cursed speech, they were probably able to experiment multiple different ways because they had 2 cursed speech users. And every time they recorded, they would play it and see what exactly would happen with the blowback and if the binding vow could actually work through a recording device. And again, for the record, heavy amounts of speculation here, but this is just basically going off of the evidence of what we know works with cursed speech and how it does transfer through devices. And the binding vow could simply be just significantly more blowback because even though it is Suguna who's significantly stronger than Inumaki, it was still only one command, where normally it would take multiple different commands for him to actually receive a decent amount of damage. Because as we saw, even though Yuta is stronger than Inumaki, Yuta is still significantly weaker than Sukuna, and when he said don't move inside the domain expansion, he really didn't receive any damage. And yet one recorded command from Inumaki completely decimated him. In my opinion, this is the explanation as to how everything happened. Let me know what you guys think.